Hey there, I'm John Hartness, and this is The Long Con, where I tell you stories from the road when I'm doing somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 conventions, signings, public appearances, or other travel things as a professional writer every single year. I spend a lot of time on the road, and I'm here to give you the background of what it means to be out there promoting your work, selling your books by hand, person to person, everywhere, right now, everywhere in the Southeast. And we'll see where it all takes me as time goes on. A little bit of background: I am a professional science fiction, fantasy, and horror writer. I write multiple series, all of which you can find out more about by going to the website that's down here. Remember to put in the stuff. You can go to my website, which is johnhartness.com. And if you enjoy this video, please remember to like, subscribe, and stay notified, because I'm going to put up a lot of these over the coming weeks and hopefully be able to give you a little peek behind the curtain, as it were. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy going to lots of conventions, but it's also a lot of work, as you'll see from our first video coming up in just a minute, because I just finished this trip today, and boy, are my arms tired. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about something that's coming out soon. This is the Shingles. This is what I've got for a Zoom. This is the first ever Shingles audiobook collection. Shingles is a parody comedy horror series written by myself and the other members of the Authors and Dragons podcast, where 6 comedy fantasy writers play Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition very, very badly. Shingles is produced by Tantor Media, and I hate to think what their first impressions were when they actually read the manuscript that they had bought. This is not safe for work. This is not safe for really anyone. Imagine the most horrible jokes that you've ever told. Now imagine it's half a dozen stories, all available on audio. It comes out on October 23rd, which Wednesday of this week. So get out there and buy that shit. It's going to be on Audible, it's going to be on iTunes, it'll be everywhere. And another way to support this podcast and video series is to buy my shit, either the new Shingles or any of the books that you see on the shelves behind you. Not those over there, because I didn't write those. My friends did, so it's cool. I want you to support them too, but buy all these first, because I either wrote or published those. Buy these specific ones because they're heavy and I'm tired of carrying them around the Southeast. Or you can support me on Patreon, and the link for that will be in the show notes as well. And all of the links to the Shingles and to my books will have an Amazon affiliate link embedded in them, so that no matter what you buy after you log in using that link, I'll get a little kickback. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps pay my gas money. So I'll be back in a minute with a very dark beginning video for the very first episode of The Long Con. Good morning. It's 6:35. Yeah, I'm really vain about my hair. It's a Leo thing. You'll have to get over it or get used to it. It's 6:35 on a Sunday morning. I am loaded up into the truck to drive to Asheville, North Carolina, which is a little over 2 hours away. I've got to stop for gas and grab something to eat, and oh, don't forget, got to take my pills. In here we have my old man pills, my fat man pills, my crazy man pills, and my goddammit the seasons are changing in North Carolina pills, which loosely translates into my antidepressant, my gout medication because I is fat, my high blood pressure because, well, remember that fat thing, and also I'm old. See, old. and my Claritin D, because it's been humid as shit and the barometric pressure's been all over the place. So it's been kind of miserable trying to breathe in the pea soup that is North Carolina when the seasons change. So I'm headed up to Asheville for the Asheville Scare Fest. It's a 2-day horror-themed gaming con, and this is my first time at this show, and I don't know if they've ever had a writer at the show before. I don't really know what I'm doing. I think I've got a table from 9 to 1, and I'm supposed to do some kind of presentation or maybe just talk to people about writing and building a career as a writer and publisher as they come up. I really don't know. It's October. I have 2 events next weekend. I have Spooky Empire next weekend, which is 8-hour drive each way, and then 3 days of a con. Then the weekend after that, I have 2 events. Then the weekend after that, I only have 1 event, and then I think I have the weekend before Thanksgiving off. And then I only have 2 more events this year, so that's a pretty light run for me, which tells you a little about how insane 2018's been for me. I've done a lot of cons, a lot more than I probably should have, and I'm scaling way back in 2019. But as we go through this, I'll try and give you guys a rundown on what I'm doing, when I know, and how it's working out, when I have any idea. So let's go put gas in the truck, go put fuel in the fat guy, and hit the road. Alrighty, we got the truck gassed up. I got some Munchables for the road. As you can see in the background, we're at the QT. So I got a giant pretzel and a Reese's peanut butter cup. And, what else we got? Product placement. Pepsi, yo, call me. Sponsor a bitch. This is for later. This is for this morning. Breakfast of champions. So, $7 worth of road snacks, $51 worth of gas in the truck. So the hope is that I'll clear at least $100 in book sales to cover the cost of goods and the cost of gas and food. That's still going to leave me in the red for the day, because I'm sure I'll have lunch, or maybe even lunch and dinner. This trip to do a free event is still going to end up costing somewhere in the neighborhood of $75 or $80, because it's going to take a tank of gas to go 2 hours and change up the mountains and 2 hours and change back. And then I've got the cost of goods, and I've got to eat. So why do I do these? Because there's practically no chance that I'm going to recoup my investment today. And I know that. I know that going in. Almost every event and appearance is a short-term money loser. But I've got a couple other things going on. Alex Gideon is going to meet me at the event. He lives up in that part of the world, and he's one of my new authors for Falstaff Books. So we're going to talk about his upcoming series of novellas set in the Quincy Harker Demon Hunter universe. So we'll get some of that going on, and hopefully out of the people I meet, one of them will turn out to be a really big fan. Maybe there'll already be somebody there who's a fan and they want to meet me. Those kinds of things I can't put a price tag on, and that's why I'm up at 6:55 in the morning on a Sunday, having to turn the light on in the cab of my truck to get enough light to shoot this kind of grainy low light video, because I do love this shit. It's tiring. I got about 5 hours sleep last night. Sounds like something in Charlotte's burning down again. Yeah, I got about 5 hours sleep. I frequently don't sleep well the night before a con or the night before an an event, it's not that I get nervous, but there's always some anxiety about the show. This month has been rough, y'all. I've had several events that just didn't earn out as much as I had hoped. The one 3-day event that I had a great time at the show. I met some great people, but the sales were barely enough to cover my hotel, much less cost of goods and my food and gas. And then I did an event last weekend, which was, again, it was a lot of fun. It was an in-town event, so it literally cost me nothing except time. I sold not a single book. I spent half a day, did a presentation, sat at a table for 4 or 5 hours for nothing, for no money. The audience wasn't for the stuff that I write or that I publish. So I didn't even get much in the way of ancillary benefits of meeting new fans, existing fans, or even recruiting writers that I may someday want to publish, because it was a much different crowd than I'll find at a genre con or a genre fiction con. So that one was kind of a bust, and that's just how a lot of events have gone since Dragon Con. This fall's been rough. I got sick after Dragon Con and missed 2 appearances. I did a 1-day event at a library. I did like $150, which is good for the 5 hours I was there. But at the end of the day, it's hard to justify loading the truck, spending the gas, eating out of the house, and doing all that for a net of $50 or $100. I feel like my time on some of these gigs would be better spent home writing. That's why I'm scaling back in 2019, and hopefully I'll be able to continue these videos and give you guys more in-depth content as opposed to some of the cursory stuff we're going to be doing over the rest of 2018. So I'm just kind of hoping that today goes well, and that at least I get to spend some good time with one of my new writers that I'm very excited about bringing into our company, and if I'm lucky, maybe I'll get to see my niece and my great nephew before I leave town. So I'll check back in with y'all when we're all set up, and I'll give you a look at what we're working with, because right now I have no fucking clue. So I'm going to sign off for a couple of hours and hit the road listening to, this time, our travel log will be provided by the Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard podcast, which is a pro wrestling podcast from one of the guys who used to do creative back in WWE when it was WWF, and he just tells old war stories, and I like listening to his stuff. So yeah, if you're into pro wrestling, check out the Something to Wrestle with podcast featuring Bruce Pritchard. All right, y'all be good. All right, so it's 2:15 in the afternoon on Sunday, October 20th. I'm done with Asheville Scarefest, or AVL Scarefest. It seemed like a really nice event. There were a fair number of people playing games. I was there from 9:15 till about 1:30. I sold 4 books, which was a gross of $65 on $50 in gas and $7 in breakfast and road snacks, and I'm gonna probably spend $7 or $10 on lunch. So I had a gross revenue of $65, and I'll probably spend about $65. That's not a break-even day, contrary to what you might imagine, because, well, one, I didn't use a full tank of gas, so there's a little buyback in gas, but that doesn't cover the cost of goods sold. That doesn't cover the cost of the books themselves, which, I don't know, $3 3 Bubba ones and a Harker one, we're probably looking at $25, $30. So we're in the hole a little bit, but I had a good time talking with Alex, my author, that was there to help me load in and set up and spend some time with me. And I did talk to one new writer. He's self-published one book and he's working on a couple of others. Talked to him about some resources, got him to maybe talk about going to some conventions, and who knows, maybe in a year or two he'll submit something and it'll be good. I don't know. Also talked to a few people. All of the people who bought things bought first in series, and three people bought the first Bubba the Monster Hunter collection, and one bought the first Quincy Harker collection, and the idea obviously is that they'll go on to buy everything else. Handed out a couple of bookmarks, a couple of business cards, but generally traffic was pretty light. Most people who were there to play games and there to spend money on gaming accessories. There was a couple of folks, there was a table next to me selling gaming themed t-shirts and knit dice bags and things. I saw them sell, I think, one dice bag while I was there, so there weren't a whole lot of people, and the people that were there weren't spending a whole lot of money, so it was tough. I'm tired as shit. I'm hungry. I'm a little bummed because I didn't sell nearly what I wanted to sell. There's never been an event where I've sold what I want to sell, except the first year I did AwesomeCon. I took, I think, 2 books home from that event. I was pretty happy about that. And Dragon, I only took 2 books home from Dragon, but I loaded pretty light for that show. But yeah, this one also was not a huge winner, but they can't all be. And looks like my battery's running low, so that's all we got for today. I'm gonna ride down the mountain, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode of The Long Con.